everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about whether the law school you go to actually matters. And the long and short of it is, so long as you are aiming for a certain career goal, and so long as the legal field, right, the legal field generally still values and puts a lot of emphasis on the prestige or perceived prestige of certain law schools, and you want to land those prestige-laden jobs, then yes, the law school you go to matters, with some caveats. So let's go ahead and jump into the video, and I will give you some details and some explanations on what I'm talking about here. So I've talked about this a lot on TikTok, but never actually on YouTube. So now I can actually do a YouTube video on it. And the first thing that I'm gonna start off with is when you're asking yourself, or when you are saying, does the law school you go to matter? What you have to ask yourself is, what do you want to do post-law school? And honestly, that is a question that you should be asking yourself when you're applying to law school, when you're first starting the application process, because you want to have a general idea of what it is you want to do post-law school. I'm not talking specifics. I'm not talking entertainment law, torts law, whatever. I'm talking generally, right? Would you like to do private? Would you like to be at a firm? Would you like to be at a small, medium, big, or boutique firm? Would you like to be in government? Would you like to be in public interest, right? In-house. That's what, and I have a whole video on that, like the different things you can do post-law school, legal career, whatever, and tons of other videos along those lines. It's in this playlist. But understanding what you want to do is going to inform your entire application process and how you should approach it just from the start. And I think that's so imperative for people to understand, because that's going to help get rid of a lot of misconceptions, but also a lot of misunderstandings and just incorrectly shared information at the law school application stage. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm speaking from the experience of my clients. I'm speaking from the experience of my clients who are reapplicants who have come back to me. A lot of them being first gen, minorities, non-traditional or underrepresented students in some way, older applicants who don't have this information on the front end, and then it bites them in the butt later on, right? And so that's why it's so important to have this information on the front end. So let me give you an example. If you are aiming to go into one, big law, or two, landing a federal clerkship, two very prestigious things, two things that are notoriously difficult to land, then yes, the law school you go to matters. 100% it matters. Now, there are always people who will try and bite your head off, including bite my head off, and I pay them no attention, because facts don't lie. Just because one person you know, or a handful of people, or even 10 or 20 people you know got big law from a tier 3 school or a tier 2 school, that doesn't change the facts. It doesn't change the numbers. It doesn't change reality, right? You can have one-off circumstances. You can have individual things that happen to individual people, and it doesn't change what is true for the majority, right? And so I have actually brought up the numbers for you. So first, we're going to start off with big law. There are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15. And this is data that you can research and pull up on your own. And I've gotten this data from multiple different websites. Right now I am looking on Reuters, but Above the Law also has it. Tax Professor, blog, vlog, whatever, also has it. Law.com also has it. There's so many different websites, and it's all going to give you the same information. You can even create charts on your own, which I actually do for my clients. It's factual information. It's available. It's out there. You don't have to listen to people, including me, but you should. But you don't have to listen to people who are telling you these one-off things like that's not true, when it is. There's facts. Okay, so 15 law schools that place over 50, that is 50% of their graduates into big law firm jobs. 15 law schools place over 50% of their graduates into big law. That is not a lot of law schools. That's 15 law schools out of who knows how many law schools there are. Let me see. Let's see. How many law schools in the US? Out of 197, which is ABA approved law schools, there are 197, only 15 of those schools place over 50% of their graduates into big law. That's not a large number. And if you're saying to yourself, the reason I want to go to law school is because I want to make a lot of money, is because I want to change my life, is because I want to create this new life for me, for my family, because whatever it may be, whatever your reason, it's completely valid, it's yours, and that's fine. But if that is your reality, if that's why you are going to law school, even if Big law, people are telling you big law sucks, you're gonna hate it, you're gonna have no life. You don't have to listen to them, first of all. You can validly want to go to big law, make the money, pay off debt you have, help your family, set yourself up, and then leave and go do something else, right? Don't listen to all the haters or the naysayers, right? It's fine to not have a life for a few years. There's different types of big law firms that you can go to. There's different boutique firms, right? There's so many nuances there. But the point is, if you are interested in going to a big law firm or a firm that is paying you over $200,000 to start coming out of law school, then yes, the law school you go to matters, and the numbers are right here. And I'll just give you the top 10. I'll just give you the top 10 schools: Columbia, Northwestern, Penn, Cornell, UVA, Duke, USC, Georgetown, Vanderbilt, and Chicago. Those are the top 10, and those top 10 all place, Chicago's 59%, so all place over 59% of their graduates into big law firm jobs. And why is that important? I shouldn't have to spell it out, but I will. If you go to law school, you're not guaranteeing, nobody's guaranteeing that you're finishing in the top of your class. So if you want to give yourself a really strong opportunity to land a big law job, you want to be at a school where the school is placing more than half of their class into big law firm jobs, because then you could be median. You could be at that 50% mark and still have a good chance at landing a big law job. Now, why is that the case? Well, that's the case because big law firms are recruiting from top law schools, which is why I started off this video by saying that so long as these jobs, so long as the legal field is still placing emphasis on the law school that a student goes to, then it matters, right? And these are the schools that big law firms are recruiting from. And not only are these the schools big law firms are recruiting from, but they're also recruiting the cream of the crop. They're recruiting the best of the best, right? And so again, you're going to do yourself a favor by trying to focus on getting into one of these law schools if that is your goal, if that is the main reason you are wanting to go to law school. The second thing that I'll talk about here, which is even harder to land than big law, is federal clerkships. I did 2 federal clerkships, a federal district and a federal circuit. Circuit is usually harder to land than the district. Even more so than big law. There are, let's count again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 schools that place over 10% of their graduates into federal clerkships. And of course, that's also because there aren't as many federal clerkships as there are big law firms. Federal clerkships, they're smaller in number in that there are less available spots. And so of course, less available spots means a smaller number of students are going to be able to land them, which also correlates to they're also taking the cream of the crop, again, and not only in law school, but also your performance while in law school. And that's why I have 2 videos on federal clerkships already, but that's also why they're looking at not only grades, but law review and all those kinds of things, right? Because of that, judges are taking from the cream of the crop. Judges are taking from top law schools. Now, again, caveat, does this mean that every single judge is only going to take from top law schools? No. Does it mean that every single judge is only going to recruit from the T5 or the T10 or the T14? No. But again, this is the data, right? And so you want to pay attention to the data and make sure that you're priming yourself, if that is a goal of yours, to make these things a reality for you. Because again, I'm all about putting on the effort on the front end, making it as easy as possible. And so are my clients. And if that's going to be when at the application stage, which for most of you it is, then that's when you should be putting in that work. Now, let me read those schools to you: Chicago, Yale, Stanford, Notre Dame, Michigan, Virginia, Texas, Harvard, Duke. And those are the schools that place over 10%. And at the top there is UChicago. They are at 25%, which is actually a really strong number. So with federal clerkships and big law, especially if those two are goals that you're having, then absolutely yes, I would say the law school that you go to does matter, because that's how the legal field is set up. Whether you think that's right, whether you think that's wrong, that is the facts. Can you go about changing that? Can you use your voice to change that? Absolutely yes. But when you are applying to law school, do yourself a favor and keep that in mind if that is your goal. Now, I also talk about this with my clients, and I talk about this on my TikTok and on here, but there are other ways to increase your chances of landing federal clerkships and big law before law school and once you're in law school. It's literally what I help my clients do, right? And so yes, do I have clients that aren't at one of these top 15 schools, or what did I say, 9 for clerkships and 15 for big law? Land clerkships and big law jobs from not being at these schools? Absolutely yes. And what does that look like? That looks like combining a lot of other factors and using them in your favor at the application stage and once you're in law school. So at the application stage, you're factoring in geography, you're factoring in networking and connections and building those. In law school, it's grades, getting the straight A's, it's getting on barrister's council or whatever your school calls mock trial and moot court, right? It's like all those, getting on law review, those types of things once you're actually in law school to increase those chances. It's networking. I don't know if I have a video on networking. Maybe I need to create one. But networking is so huge, right? Even if you're not at one of these schools, once you're in school, you can network your way into jobs in terms of at least getting the door opened for you, right? I talked about in my big law firm, I have a video on how I landed multiple big law firm offers my 1L year. And I talked about how some of those offers came from networking. My grades hadn't even come out yet, so they didn't know I was top of my class. And I landed those interviews before I got those grades. And that's because I was networking. So yes, there are other ways, even if these schools aren't necessarily the ones that you attend. And again, even when you're thinking about broadening your list and does law school matter, there are schools that place 30%, 33%, and so on and so forth, at least when it comes to big law, that you can definitely consider because again, 33%, that's technically top third at your law school, but also combine that with networking, combine that with other factors. You're slowly, at least for you, boosting your own chances. So yes, it's maybe more work, but it's also things that I recommend people do anyway, just because networking is fun and it's good to know people and build relationships in the field that you're in. And I will also say as well that the further you get from law school, so you graduate and like the further you move away from graduation, the less the law school you go to matters and the more emphasis is actually placed on you just being a good attorney, right? So your writing skills, your advocacy skills, your communication skills, and so on and so forth. And so I would also say at the end of this, your law school matters more recently coming directly out of law school, like in the 1 or 2 years after law school for landing these jobs. So for example, I've had friends who didn't necessarily or weren't able to land a clerkship, a federal clerkship straight out of law school. But after 3 years of practicing, they were then able to apply and land that federal clerkship. Because again, it's the further you move away and the more practice you gain, these are things that you can use to leverage your experience to land these types of things. So no, it's not the end all be all if you don't land a big law job or a federal clerkship immediately out of law school, or even like that Fortune 500 in-house company. And usually it's going to be rare to land like that kind of job immediately out of law school anyway. But definitely once you're building up that experience, you can absolutely lateral. So like you can even lateral big law firms, right? So it's not like you're stuck in one particular job immediately out of law school. And in fact, nowadays, I guess, like I feel like back then, definitely when I was in law school, the people who I talked to, it was very common for people to stay in one firm or stay in one kind of position for majority of their career. But now it's very common to go out and do different things and to move around before really settling in on one thing or kind of like stay in one place for 10 years. So it's not the end all be all regardless. So I guess like if I were to summarize, what I would say is if you are aiming for a more prestige laden job, like a federal clerkship, like a big law job, like those tippity top in-house companies, like academia, I didn't talk about academia, but that's included here, like becoming a judge, right? Those types, if you're aiming for those types of jobs, then yes, the law school you go to matters, but it probably matters less so the further you get away from law school, right? And so I didn't talk too much about academia and becoming a judge, but I kind of think those are self-explanatory. Majority of your law school professors are coming from the T14 and actually even T10 and T5. And then like judges, usually it's a lot more, there's a lot more involved in becoming a judge because then you're also involving or thinking about locales and geography. And I think geography just in general plays a large part that you can consider, especially combined with networking, especially combined with experience. But anyway, that is how I will summarize this video. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Don't forget to follow me on social media at Topping the Curve. And guys, check out this brand new offer that I have. It's so I can be of help to more of you, more accessible, because I've had a lot of people come to me looking for help that I unfortunately had to turn away today because they do fill up pretty quickly. But this new offer is designed to help tons more people. It's to help you know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, everything in your law school application process. It's for fall 2025 and fall 2026 applicants. Actually, at any given point, it's going to be for a 2-year cycle. So if you're interested in that, all the information will be in the description box below, or you can just go to toppingthecurve.com. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on my next video. Bye.